Welcome to Pulse, today's hotel, restaurant, and bar industry news. A deep dive from HRBUniversal, navigating your industry. With insights from leaders
From a regulatory crackdown on food ingredients that could upend your supply chain, to a plateaued hotel market demanding ruthless operational control. Today, we are breaking down the shifting sands of hospitality.
Right.
Welcome to Pulse Today's Hotel, Restaurant and Bar Industry News Deep Dive, brought to you by HRBUniversal. We're delivering the critical updates, trend analyses, and operational intelligence you need to stay ahead in hospitality.
Exactly.
And, when you look at the sheer chaos of the hospitality landscape right now,
Right.
between state legislatures literally fighting with the FDA over what constitutes food,
Yeah.
and artificial intelligence essentially rewriting how human beings book travel, how does a multi-unit operator even begin to prioritize?
It's overwhelming. It really is.
It is. So if you are listening to this right now, whether you're a general manager running the floor, a food and beverage director, or a C-suite executive looking at the balance sheet, this deep dive is built for you. We've got a massive stack of current intelligence to get through today.
Yeah, we have a ton of ground to cover.
We really do. We're looking at the 2026 Leisure Travel Study, the 2026 Hotel Industry Report, breaking regulatory news, major real estate liquidations. Our mission here is basically to separate the signal from the noise so you can walk away with absolute clarity on your next operational move.
Because it's an absolute imperative right now to look beyond those daily fire drills of operations. You have to understand the macro forces that are reshaping our industry. The ground is moving beneath our feet, and the operators who survive 2026 are going to be the ones who actually understand the mechanics of these shifts rather than just, reacting to the symptoms.
Right. So let's start right at the foundation of the industry, which is the raw materials. We have a massive story brewing at the federal level regarding the FDA, ultra-processed foods, and a regulatory mechanism that, frankly, most people don't think about until it breaks.
Yeah, the GRAS loophole.
Exactly. The FDA has just proposed a new rule regarding these GRAS loophole. And for anyone who doesn't spend their weekends reading food law, GRAS stands for Generally Recognized as SACE. Historically, it's a pathway where manufacturers can add ingredients to food without going through a rigorous, years-long pre-market FDA approval process.
As long as scientific experts generally agree the substance is safe, yeah.
Right, provided there's that consensus. But now, the FDA has opened a 120-day public comment period on a proposed rule to increase transparency and oversight here. So, why the sudden crackdown? Why now?
Well, to understand the crackdown, we really have to understand how the GRS system actually functions, or rather how it has evolved into something it was honestly never intended to be.
Okay, lay it out for us.
So the concept originated decades ago as a common sense measure. Things like salt, vinegar, baking soda, those shouldn't require a 10-year clinical trial to be approved for use in a commercial bakery.
Sure, that makes sense.
But over the years, food science has just exploded. We aren't just talking about baking soda anymore. We are talking about highly complex, lab-synthesized dough conditioners, advanced emulsifiers, novel artificial preservatives. And under the current framework, a company can essentially convene its own panel of experts, determine that a new synthetic compound is GRAS, and put it right into the food supply without formally notifying the FDA.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second, because that sounds like a massive blind spot. Are you saying the FDA is basically relying on the honor system for heavily engineered food additives?
Exactly. And that is the major friction point right now. The FDA's new proposal is attempting to pull back the curtain. They want mandatory transparency, demanding that if a company makes a GRAS determination, they must provide the data to the agency.
Right.
But what makes the situation incredibly volatile for the operators listening to this deep dive right now is that the federal government is moving at a glacial pace.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, the federal definition of ultra-processed foods is currently just sitting as a draft white paper at the Office of Management and Budget. It is completely stalled. And, nature abhors a vacuum. Because the federal level is moving so slowly, we're seeing aggressive, highly fragmented action everywhere else.
We certainly are. We have Congress stepping in, for one. Senators Blumenthal and Booker have introduced a proposal to legally mandate strict federal definitions for terms like ultra-processed, not ultra-processed, and natural.
Right. They want to draw hard lines.
Exactly. They want to stipulate by law that any food deemed ultra-processed cannot legally be labeled or marketed as healthy. Furthermore, they want a strict rule that natural foods cannot contain any artificial ingredients or colors whatsoever.
And this is exactly where the industry collision happens. The Consumer Brands Association, which is the lobbying arm for the heavy hitters in food manufacturing, they are fighting this tooth and nail.
Because it hits their bottom line.
Well, their official argument is that these definitions lack a sound, universal scientific foundation. They argue that processing is often necessary for food safety and shelf life, and that villainizing the term ultra-processed will just confuse consumers.
Oh.
But more importantly, from a macroeconomic perspective, they argue this will exponentially raise grocery and wholesale costs during what is already a very tough affordability era for the consumer.
Right. Now, to be clear for everyone listening, we aren't taking sides on the politics of this, whether it's the federal regulatory push by figures like RFK Jr. or the food lobby's defense of the current supply chain. We're purely analyzing the operational reality here.
Absolutely. We have to look at how this impacts the floor.
And the reality is that states are completely ignoring Washington and just taking matters into their own hands.
That is the most dangerous development for a multi-unit operator, hands down. California has already acted. They've legally defined and banned certain ultra-processed items, specifically targeting synthetic food dyes in school meals. And now, New York has passed the Food Safety and Chemical Disclosure Act. Once signed, this forces companies to report GRAS substances and safety data directly to the state of New York. It doesn't require state-level pre-market review, but it demands very aggressive reporting.
So if I am a multi-state restaurant operator, let's say I run a fast casual burger chain with locations in New York, California, and Texas, how do I navigate this? I mean, this sounds like a logistical nightmare.
It is the definition of a compliance nightmare. What the smartest operators are doing right now is bracing for a complete patchwork regulatory environment. Think about your supply chain logistics.
Okay.
If you are a high-volume operator, your entire margin relies on consistency. You want a single SKU for your burger bun from your broadline distributor that you can use universally across all your property.
Wait, to keep costs down.
Exactly. But now the dough conditioner in that bun might be entirely legal and unregulated in Texas, but it might trigger a massive, complex safety reporting requirement for your distributor in New York. And it might be entirely banned in a California school district or municipal building.
So what happens then? Does the broadline distributor formulate 3 different buns?
Usually, no. The distributor does not want the inventory complexity of carrying 3 different SKUs for the exact same bun.
That makes sense.
So they will likely default to the strictest regulation. If California bans an ingredient, the national distributor might force the manufacturer to remove it from the national formulation entirely just to simplify the logistics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This means operators in Texas might suddenly see the texture or shelf life of their buns change or the price increase purely because of a law passed in Sacramento. You just can no longer assume a stable, universally compliant, and cheap supply of raw materials.
Which perfectly brings us to how the manufacturing side is desperately trying to get ahead of this exact issue. Because with ingredients changing and regulations tightening, the margin for error in quality control is basically shrinking to zero.
It really is.
And the news out of the supply chain tech world is focused heavily on AI interventions right now, specifically platforms like iFactory AI. Food manufacturers are realizing that human manual sampling is just no longer sufficient to catch defects or maintain compliance, so they are pivoting hard to AI-powered predictive quality analytics and machine vision.
The mechanics of the shift are fascinating. We are moving from reactive quality assurance to proactive predictive quality control.
Give us an example of how that changes the game.
Well, let's look at the traditional model. In a standard commercial bakery, a QA technician pulls a sample off the line maybe once an hour. They take it to the lab, test it for moisture content, texture, or microbial load. That takes time. If that sample fails the test, what happens? You have to scrap or rework an entire hour's worth of production. Or worse, the defect happened between the hourly checks and the bad product slips through to your distributor and eventually to your restaurant.
Right. Relying on manual hourly sampling is like trying to understand the plot of a 2-hour movie by looking at 3 random frames. You might guess it's an action movie, but you're missing the entire narrative.
Exactly. And if the villain enters the scene in frame 4, you've completely missed it until the movie is over and the damage is done.
Right.
What iFactory AI and similar platforms do is watch the whole film, frame by frame, in real time. These systems operate at full line speed. They aren't just looking at the finished product, they are monitoring the real-time process parameters.
So what are they actually looking at?
They are measuring the mixing times down to the millisecond, the exact temperature profiles of the ovens across different zones, and even the vibration signatures of the equipment.
Wait, hold on. Vibration signatures. How does tracking the vibration of a mixer predict food quality?
This is where predictive analytics becomes incredibly powerful. Every piece of industrial equipment has a baseline vibration frequency, right?
Okay.
If a dough formulation is suddenly too dense, perhaps because of that ingredient variability we just talked about, the mixing arm has to work harder. The AI detects a microscopic shift in the vibration frequency of that mixer, say from 45 hertz to 50 hertz.
Oh, I see.
And the AI's multivariate model correlates that specific vibration change to a final moisture content failure hours before the product ever hits the oven or the QA lab. It immediately flags the operator to adjust the water input in real time. It fixes the defect before the defect actually exists.
I mean, I see the mechanical value there, but I really have to push back hard on the economic reality of this.
Yeah.
We are talking about implementing full-line machine vision, IoT sensors, and predictive AI across massive legacy manufacturing facilities. The capex for that has to be astronomical.
It's not cheap.
You're telling me a mid-sized commercial bakery operating on razor-thin margins has $500,000 to drop on AI right now? Is this actually feasible, or is this just Silicon Valley pipe dreams for the top 1% of manufacturers?
It's a highly valid pushback, and yes, the initial capital expenditure is a hurdle, but you have to look at the total cost of quality, which includes the cost of catastrophic failure.
Go break that down.
The ROI framework provided by these AI platforms is compelling because of the sheer scale of the risk. Preventing a single major product recall, which can easily hit $10 million in direct costs, logistics, and brand damage, covers the entire platform deployment instantly.
$10 million.
Easily. Furthermore, the industry is moving towards SaaS models, software as a service. Manufacturers aren't necessarily buying $1 million of proprietary hardware up front. They are paying a monthly licensing fee for the AI models, using off-the-shelf industrial cameras. Because it eliminates daily waste, scrap, and rework, these systems are frequently paying for themselves within 12 to 18 months.
So as a restaurant operator or a hotel F&B director listening to this, why do I care about the vibration of a mixer in a plant 3 states away? I care because of my own downstream risk.
Exactly.
What the top-tier operators are doing right now is demanding this level of AI quality assurance from their upstream suppliers. During contract negotiations, they aren't just asking for price anymore.
No, they're asking about the process.
Right. They are asking, are you using continuous AI monitoring, or are you still relying on the 3 frames of the movie manual method? Because if a supplier is relying on outdated QA, their manufacturing defect eventually becomes your highly public menu recall.
Precisely. You have to insulate your brand by ensuring your supply chain is bulletproof. And speaking of bulletproofing the supply chain, we are seeing major proactive movements in the agricultural sector as well, specifically regarding crisis management.
Yes, the American Egg Board just released their 2025 accomplishments report, and honestly, it is a masterclass in playing offense. They have secured some massive strategic victories. First, they successfully drove awareness of the FDA's updated definition, officially recognizing eggs as a healthy food, which is huge for consumer perception.
That's a big win for them.
But more importantly for the supply chain, they launched an HPAI vaccination working group. HPAI is highly pathogenic avian influenza, commonly known as bird flu. The Egg Board actually developed and submitted a proposed vaccination plan for egg-laying hens to the USDA, which effectively forced the agency's hand to draft its own regulatory framework.
This is a critical development for anyone who buys eggs at volume. I mean, we all remember the extreme trauma of the HPAI outbreaks over the last few years.
It's brutal.
It wasn't just a slight inconvenience, it decimated national flocks and sent the wholesale cost of eggs skyrocketing. We saw price spikes of 200%, 300% overnight. It wrecked food costs for breakfast concepts in bakeries globally.
Right, you couldn't even price your menu fast enough to keep up.
Exactly. So the Egg Board taking the lead on a vaccination framework is really about stabilizing market volatility. They are trying to ensure that operators are never again hit with that kind of catastrophic overnight margin destruction.
It's a brilliant move because they didn't wait for the government to solve the problem. They handed the USDA a blueprint.
Yeah.
And they're doing the exact same thing on the ESG front, environmental, social, and governance reporting.
Oh, the sustainability side, yeah.
The Egg Board launched the industry's first greenhouse gas calculator designed specifically for egg operations, alongside an online sustainability reporting tool called Incredibly Sustainable.
Which is incredibly timely because regulatory and corporate scrutiny regarding sustainability is intensifying rapidly. Large hotel brands and major corporate restaurant groups are increasingly required to report on their Scope 3 emissions.
Let's define Scope 3 emissions for the audience because that's a term thrown around in boardrooms but often misunderstood on the floor.
Absolutely. Scope 1 emissions are what you directly produce, like the gas burned in your restaurant's ovens.
Okay.
Scope 2 emissions are indirect, like the electricity you buy from the grid to power your hotel. But Scope 3 is the heavy hitter. It encompasses the carbon footprint of your entire supply chain. It's the emissions produced by the truck delivering your food, and crucially, the emissions produced at the farm to grow your ingredients.
So everything upstream.
Everything. Historically, calculating Scope 3 has been an absolute nightmare for operators because the data from farms simply didn't exist in a standardized format.
So if a major hotel chain has a corporate mandate to reduce Scope 3 emissions by 20% by 2030, their F&B directors have to somehow figure out the carbon footprint of the millions of eggs they serve at their breakfast buffets.
Exactly. And the Egg Board's new calculator takes the guesswork out of it. It measures feed production, manure management, transport logistics, and on-farm energy use, and it packages it all into standardized data. The smartest operators are leveraging this right now. They aren't waiting for their corporate board or local government to audit them. They are demanding this greenhouse gas data from their egg suppliers today, preemptively building out their ESG reporting.
So if we synthesize this entire back-of-house picture, what is the clear operational reality? It comes down to unprecedented scrutiny and extreme variability.
Variability is the key word there.
Right. The food supply chain is under a microscope from potential federal regulatory shifts, aggressive and disjointed state-level legislation, and hypersensitive consumers.
Yeah.
You absolutely cannot assume that your raw materials will remain cheap, stable, or legally compliant.
You really can't.
So the operators who are winning right now are auditing their ingredient labels to anticipate state-level bans. They are demanding AI-driven quality control from their distributors, and they are leveraging new agricultural data tools to satisfy corporate ESG mandates before they become emergencies.
That is how you secure the foundation. You have to build a resilient back of house. But as any operator knows, having the most compliant, perfectly monitored ingredients in the world is completely useless if no one is walking through your front door.
Exactly. And that shift is jarring right now. We have to transition from what is in the food to how the 2026 consumer is choosing where to eat, sleep, and spend their money. We have deep, exclusive insights from the Travel Boom 2026 Leisure Travel Study, which surveyed recent travelers. And the data paints a picture of a consumer demographic that is fundamentally torn.
Torn is the perfect descriptor. The macroeconomic pressure on the consumer is undeniable right now. The study explicitly shows that 28% of travelers are taking fewer trips outright purely due to rising costs.
Over a quarter of them.
Yeah. Nearly a quarter are taking shorter trips just to save money. And when they do manage to travel, they are ruthless with their discretionary spending. 45% are cutting back on dining and entertainment, and 39% are actively reducing activities and excursions. Affordability is the lens through which every single decision is being filtered.
But here is the massive contradiction that operators have to navigate. These consumers are tightening their belts, yet they still absolutely demand luxury, extreme personalization, and total flexibility.
Oh, the flexibility demands are wild.
Let's look at the data on flexibility. It is staggering. Nearly half of all travelers, 48.8%, demand very flexible options, like free cancellation or penalty-free rescheduling. Only 5.8% of travelers are willing to lock into a non-refundable rate.
This is a monumental paradigm shift in revenue management. For decades, the industry standard was the non-refundable rate.
Right, the advanced purchase rate.
Exactly. You offer a 10% discount, the guest locks in, and the hotel guarantees its baseline occupancy. We have to declare that era officially dead. Flexibility has shifted from being a nice-to-have perk to being the absolute price of entry. Generous cancellation policies are now a basic expectation that drastically reduces booking friction.
I have to stop you there, because from a revenue management perspective, that is terrifying. If I am running a 300-room property and half my bookers demand the ability to cancel 24 hours before arrival, how do I forecast? How do I staff housekeeping? How do I order food for the restaurants? If everyone can cancel on a whim, My operational modeling becomes pure guesswork.
It is terrifying, I agree, but it is the reality of the market. The solution isn't to fight the consumer. The solution is to adapt your overbooking and yield management algorithms to account for higher cancellation velocity.
So you just expect them to cancel and overbook accordingly.
You have to. If you try to fight this, if you hide your strict cancellation policy in the fine print, or rigidly enforce a 72-hour window in a volatile market, the 2026 consumer will simply close the tab and book with your competitor.
Wow.
Almost a third of travelers now list flexibility as a top deciding factor, holding equal weight with price and location. You have to prominently display your generous cancellation policies directly on the mobile booking flow. Make it the headline, "Book direct, cancel anytime."
Because if you don't, they are going to read about your strict policies in the reviews.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the power of reviews, because the Travel Boom data shows they are now the ultimate gatekeeper of revenue.
They really are.
65% of people will not book any kind of trip, hotel, restaurant, or excursion without reading reviews first. Over 36% read them at the very inception of the planning phase, and half of all travelers state that poor reviews would make them entirely avoid a property, regardless of the price or location.
So price doesn't even save you if the reviews are bad.
Exactly. Reviews are no longer just feedback. They are the entirety of your brand's reputation engine.
And that reputation engine is about to become exponentially more important, which ties directly into the most disruptive technological shift in the study: the integration of artificial intelligence in trip planning.
Let's get into this, because this is huge.
It is. 83% of Gen Z and millennial travelers have tried or are actively interested in using AI tools to help them plan their trips. And a massive 67% say they inherently trust AI to give them reliable travel ideas and itineraries.
Here's where it gets really interesting and, frankly, existential for hotel marketers. If 67% of the fastest growing travel demographic trusts a chatbot to plan their trip, traditional SEO is dead.
Completely dead.
Search engine optimization relied on a consumer typing "best boutique hotel in Chicago" into Google and clicking through a page of 10 blue links. Hotels spent millions optimizing keywords to rank on that page.
Oh, billions over the years.
Right. But if the consumer is now opening an AI app and saying, "Plan a 3-day weekend in Chicago focused on authentic street food and historic hotels under $300 a night," and the AI just spits out a fully formed itinerary with 3 specific recommendations, how does an operator survive that? How do you optimize for an AI that doesn't use search pages?
You have to transition your entire marketing strategy from SEO to GEO, generative engine optimization.
Okay, Geo. Explain that.
Let's break down how these large language models like ChatGPT, Claude, or Google's Gemini actually work. They do not rank websites based on keyword stuffing or how many times you put Chicago hotel on your landing page. They scrape the entirety of the internet to form a consensus. They look for semantic proximity and high authority sentiment.
Meaning they're scraping the reviews.
Exactly. They're scraping TripAdvisor, Yelp, high authority travel blogs, Reddit threads, and TikTok transcripts. They aggregate the sentiment. To survive GEO, your brand must ensure it appears positively in AI chatbot results, which makes your reviews across all platforms the absolute lifeblood of your business.
So it's not about having the best keywords. It's about actually being good.
Exactly. If an AI detects a consensus of negative sentiment, even if you have a beautiful, highly optimized website, it will simply exclude you from the generated itinerary. An AI will not recommend a hotel with a 3.2-star average rating because its primary goal is to provide a highly satisfactory answer to the user.
So the smartest operators are no longer just replying to bad reviews. They are actively engineering their physical operations to ensure the consensus of the internet is positive, because that consensus is the only thing the AI actually reads.
Exotic.
Now let's look at what these AI itineraries are actually going to recommend, because the consumer's preferences for destinations have shifted wildly. According to the study, 80% of travelers say food dictates the destination. Food isn't a side quest or an amenity anymore. It is the primary driver of travel.
It is the main event.
And crucially, they don't want white tablecloths and tasting menus. 66% explicitly want street food, and 64% prioritize local, authentic culinary experiences over traditional fine dining.
This represents the continued democratization of culinary travel. The prestige of travel is no longer about exclusivity, it's about authenticity.
Right.
Fine dining is losing ground to authentic, street-level cultural immersion because that is what feels real to a consumer who spends 8 hours a day looking at highly edited digital content. They want the visceral reality of a night market. And it extends beyond food, too.
For sure. Look at music tourism.
Yeah, music tourism has moved from a niche subculture to mass market reality. Over 72% of travelers say they have traveled or would travel specifically for a music festival or concert event.
And wellness is no longer a luxury add-on either. It's a baseline expectation. 55% of travelers would consider a dedicated wellness retreat, with 78% expecting robust spa facilities and 64% wanting guided meditation or mindfulness options.
They need a break.
They do. The modern vacation inherently must include physical and mental recovery from the stress of the current economic environment.
And this desire for authenticity and recovery is even changing the physical architecture of the hotels they want to stay in. Expedia's newsroom just released a fascinating report stating that 2026 is the year of salvaged stays.
Salvaged stays. I love that term.
It's a great term. Travelers are showing a massive, measurable spike in interest for historic buildings that have been carefully modernized.
Right. They highlighted places like London's Cambridge House, which is a stunning 18th century Georgian mansion that is being converted into a luxury hotel. The appeal isn't just that it's a nice room, it's the original character, the history, combined with hyper-modern, elevated amenities.
It all comes back to the story. They want a building with a narrative, food from a street vendor with a multi-generational history, and a flexible booking policy that treats them like a human being with a volatile schedule.
Absolutely.
Even in the fast food space, which we might traditionally view as the menu fluff of the industry, brands are desperately trying to engineer unique, bold experiences to capture this exact demographic desire for the novel and the authentic.
Oh, 100%. If you look at the menu trackers right now, the innovation is aggressive. I mean, Arby's brought back their steak nuggets. Chick-fil-A is testing a proprietary spin on chicken and waffles.
McDonald's is pairing their food with Red Bull.
Right. McDonald's literally pairing with Red Bull to capture the energy drink market. Taco Bell launched an entire Tajin-themed menu integration. And Smoothie King is aggressively expanding their solids food additions, and their earnings show it's actually paying off.
And why are they doing this? Because they understand the psychology of the 2026 consumer. Fast food is trying to match that desire for bold, unique, highly shareable flavor profiles. They're trying to manufacture a mini experience, a dopamine hit of novelty, to satisfy a consumer who might not be able to afford a full vacation this year.
So we have a highly demanding, budget-conscious consumer who uses AI to find authentic street food and flexible, historic hotels. What is the operational reality of actually capturing their booking? Because the Travel Boom study shows a fascinating bifurcated shift in the booking funnel itself.
The booking data is highly revealing. Online travel agencies, the OTAs like Expedia, Booking.com, and Agoda, they still dominate the landscape with 47% influence.
Almost half.
Almost half. But direct bookings on proprietary hotel websites are steadily rising, now sitting at 18%. And the booking windows themselves are splitting into two extremes. The majority, 56.2%, are methodical, booking 1 to 3 months out.
Okay, that's the traditional window.
But a very meaningful, high-stress segment of 15.4% are booking less than 2 weeks out.
This is the critical insight for the front of house right here. The era of delayed gratification is over. The traditional hotel loyalty program where you ask a Gen Z traveler to accumulate 50,000 points over 4 years just to get a free Tuesday night stay at an airport hotel is completely broken.
They don't care about points.
They don't want points. They want value right now. Yeah. Instant rewards beat delayed ones every single time.
Exactly. If you want to steal that 47% market share away from the OTAs and push your highly profitable direct booking number higher, you have to offer immediate, tangible perks on your direct channel.
What are the operators doing that works?
The operators who are crushing it right now are revamping their loyalty programs entirely. They are offering instant gratification. The second you book direct, you get a free premium Wi-Fi upgrade, an immediate 10% discount on the room rate, or a free late checkout.
Or, tying it back to the data we just discussed, offer them an experience. Bundle a local street food walking tour or VIP access to a local music festival directly into your room packages.
Make it seamless.
Yes, make your hotel the frictionless gateway to the authentic experiences they are already asking their AI chatbots to find.
It's all about removing friction and adding immediate value. But here's the harsh reality executing on this, capturing that tech-savvy, demanding consumer with instant perks and modernized historic buildings. It requires significant capital.
It does.
And it requires a bulletproof balance sheet. which brings us to the highest level of the industry.
The boardroom. We are shifting to operational strategy now because you cannot execute Son of House magic if the math doesn't work.
Right.
We are looking at how major players are navigating the current macroeconomic plateau. We have to start with the 2026 Hotel Industry Report by the Travel Foundry. And frankly, the data is sobering. Demand has effectively flatlined.
Yeah, it has.
ADR, or average daily rate, is projected to be up only 1% for 2026. RevPAR, which is revenue per available room, the ultimate metric of hotel health, is up a microscopic 0.8%.
We really have to put those numbers into context for the operators listening. A 1% rate growth is not growth. It is a contraction.
Explain that.
Well, we are operating in an environment where cumulative inflation, skyrocketing commercial insurance premiums, escalating labor costs, and the inflated costs of F&E furniture, fixtures, and equipment are running significantly higher than 1%.
Way higher.
If your top-line revenue grows by 1%, but your operating expenses grow by 4%, your real revenue and your margins are shrinking violently. The post-pandemic revenge travel boom is over. The market tailwinds that lifted every boat, even the poorly managed ones, are gone.
Think of it like sailing. In a massive storm or a massive boom market with high demand, the wind does the work. You just hold onto the wheel and the momentum carries you forward.
Right.
Rising ADR covers a multitude of operational sins. But in dead air, a plateaued market like we have right now, there is no wind. The only way to keep the ship moving is to start aggressively throwing heavy cargo overboard.
You have to manipulate your physical and financial footprints.
Exactly. And no one is doing that more aggressively right now than Ashford Hospitality Trust.
Ashford is the perfect boardroom case study for this exact moment. They were a massive real estate investment trust, a REIT, and they are aggressively, systematically offloading assets.
Unloading them.
Yeah. They just entered agreements to sell 6 hotels for $154.6 million, which includes major properties like the Sheraton Indianapolis City Center and the Hyatt Regency Long Island.
And this is not an isolated event.
No, this is on top of selling 5 other hotels in the first quarter of the year for $238.5 million.
They are throwing the heavy cargo overboard. Why? Why sell off so much core real estate?
Because of the cost of debt. Stephen Zegray, their CEO, explicitly stated that strategic divestitures remain a vital lever to improve leverage, liquidity, and cash flow.
Right. Liquidity is king.
When interest rates are elevated, the debt service on an underperforming full-service asset can bleed a REIT dry. If RevPAR isn't growing fast enough to cover the escalating debt service on a massive property in Indianapolis, you sell the asset. You take the cash, you pay down the most expensive debt, and you build a war chest of liquidity to survive the plateau.
Okay, I understand the strategy of deleveraging. If you can't grow top line, you cut debt to save the bottom line. But a hospitality company eventually has to grow, right?
Eventually, yes.
If new full-service builds are stalled because the cost of capital and construction is so prohibitively high, what is the safe bet for growth? Because the Travel Foundry report notes that extended stay projects are absolutely leading the pipeline for new openings all the way through 2027. Is extended stay truly the only safe harbor left in a plateaued market?
It is undeniably the most resilient model right now, and it comes down entirely to labor metrics. Extended stay operates with a fundamentally different, infinitely leaner operational model than a full-service hotel.
Let's look at the math on that.
Okay, let's look at it. In a traditional hotel, a guest stays 1.5 nights on average. You have to flip that room, change the linens, clean the bathroom, and process a check-in and check-out almost every single day.
Right.
That requires a massive housekeeping staff and a fully manned front desk 24/7.
But in extended stay,
your average guest stays for 14 to 21 days. They are a traveling nurse, a construction crew, or someone relocating. You aren't turning over the room every morning. You might do a light refresh once a week.
wow, the labor savings.
Your housekeeping costs just plummet. Your front desk doesn't need to be staffed by 3 people at 2 p.m. because no one is checking in or out. Your operating margins expand dramatically because your labor overhead collapses. In a flat demand market where labor is your highest variable cost, low overhead models win every single time.
That is a brilliant breakdown of the mechanics. And what's fascinating is that we are seeing this exact same philosophy, ruthlessly optimizing the physical footprint for maximum labor and operational efficiency playing out of the restaurant sector's boardrooms as well.
Oh, absolutely. Look at the recent mergers and acquisitions news surrounding Bonchon.
Right, the Korean fried chicken chain. They were just acquired by Minor Food, which is a massive, highly sophisticated Thai restaurant group, in partnership with Surya Private Equity. They are obviously capitalizing on the massive global boom in Korean culture. The data shows Korean food exports surged 9% annually, hitting over $7 billion. But what is truly fascinating isn't just the menu, it's what Bonchon is doing with their physical architecture.
Exactly. They aren't just opening more of the same restaurants, they are rolling out a highly specific 2025 elevated prototype. It is a physical footprint optimized simultaneously for two completely different business models.
Oh, so?
On one hand, it blends modern Korean aesthetics in the dining room, the exact kind of elevated, authentic vibe that Gen Z demands for their social media, aligning perfectly with the salvage stay's desire for aesthetic authenticity we talked about earlier.
Right, it looks great for dine-in, but on the other hand, the back of house is a machine.
It has to be. The kitchen is streamlined and built to handle massive industrial volumes of both dine-in plating and heavy takeout and delivery orders simultaneously.
They are trying to serve two masters, which is incredibly difficult to do. I mean, they want the authentic elevated dine-in vibe, but they know their margin volume comes from delivery. If your beautiful aesthetic dining room is constantly chaotic, filled with a dozen delivery drivers in helmets shouting at the host stand, the Gen Z customer is never coming back.
You ruin the vibe.
You completely ruin the vibe. But if your kitchen can't process the delivery volume quickly enough, the algorithms on Uber Eats and DoorDash penalize you, and you lose your core revenue stream.
So the physical prototype has to perfectly bridge that gap. The smartest restaurant groups right now are literally tearing down walls, creating separate ingress and egress points for delivery drivers, and building dual-line kitchens to ensure the two operational systems don't cannibalize each other.
Yep, it's all about flow management.
We even see this intense focus on physical space optimization bleeding into the convenience store space, which is undergoing a massive evolution right now. 7-Eleven just brought in a new CEO, Mauricio Leiva, to execute a sweeping turnaround of their North American business. And the absolute centerpiece of his agenda is a commitment to remodel over 7,000 stores by 2030.
7,000 stores. A remodel of that scale is a multi-billion-dollar capital expenditure. And a massive driver of that strategy is the rapidly changing reality of the parking lot. The new Retail EV Charging Index by Electric Era is actively ranking convenience stores on their EV infrastructure.
Which conclusively proves that EV charging is no longer a greenwashing PR stunt or a novelty.
No.
It is a core operational strategy. Think about the psychology of the traditional convenience store. It's built on the gas and go model. You pump gas for 3 minutes, you walk in, grab a soda and a bag of chips, and you leave. The store layout is designed for a 5-minute transaction.
Right, maximum turnover.
But an electric vehicle changes the math of time. If it takes 20 to 30 minutes to achieve a meaningful charge on an EV, you suddenly have a captive customer with a half-hour of dwell time.
And if a customer's stuck on your lot for 20 minutes, they aren't just buying a candy bar.
No, they are buying a premium espresso drink. They are buying a hot, prepared meal. They might sit down at a cafe table to check their email. They might even do some light grocery shopping to pick up dinner ingredients. But the physical space has to be designed to monetize that extended dwell time.
Because a cramped, fluorescent-lit aisle doesn't encourage a 20-minute stay.
Exactly. That is exactly why 7-Eleven has to remodel. They have to transform their stores from quick-stop transaction hubs into comfortable, high-margin dwell spaces to capture the EV driver's wallet.
So as we pull all of these macro trends together, let's distill what the top-tier operators are actually doing right now to survive and thrive in this environment.
Let's do it.
For the hotel boardrooms navigating the plateau, the leaders are becoming surgical with their revenue management. They aren't just chasing raw volume. We're protecting their shoulder nights, the Sundays and Thursdays, with targeted packages.
Right.
They are segmenting their guests strictly by profitability. They are implementing rigid length of stay controls and rate fences to maximize yield. And critically, CFOs are modeling rate growth against actual inflation. They understand that celebrating a 1% ADR bump is an illusion if labor is up 4%.
And for the restaurant operators, The winners are evaluating their physical footprints immediately. They are auditing their kitchen flow during peak hours to ensure their line can handle a Friday night surge of both elevated dine-in service and high-volume takeout without the systems collapsing.
And if the flow is broken,
If the flow is broken, they are redesigning their prototypes to separate the revenue streams, just like Bonchon is doing.
and for the convenience store and travel plaza operators, they have stopped viewing EV chargers as a parking lot novelty. They are treating them as the ultimate captive dwell time driver. They are planning interior remodels right now to offer premium food, seating, and Wi-Fi to capture that 20-minute customer. Because if they don't, they will lose that massive revenue stream to the 7-Elevens of the world who are spending billions to do exactly that.
Which brings us to a profound, overarching realization when you look at the entirety of this deep dive.
It really does. I mean, think about the ground we just covered today. We talked about AI platforms inspecting our food supply at the microscopic level for vibration defects. We talked about generative AI scraping the internet to plan our guests' itineraries and tell them where to eat. We talked about automated revenue management algorithms setting our daily room rates based on complex plateaued demand data.
It's all automated.
Right. So at what point does hospitality just become a hyper-efficient conversation between two machines? An AI books the room, an algorithm sets the dynamic price, a robot monitors the oven, and a kiosk takes the order.
Yeah, where is the human?
Exactly. How do you, the operator listening right now, inject the raw, authentic, and beautifully imperfect human element back into your brand? Because in a fully automated, optimized world, a genuine, unscripted human connection might just be the ultimate and most highly sought-after luxury left. Think about how you build that into your culture as you head back to your floor today.
That's the real challenge.
That wraps up today's edition of Pulse. Before you get back to your floor or executive suite, make sure to check out the other powerful shows in the HRB Universal Network.
Kitchen to C-Suite, your definitive roadmap for advancing hospitality careers, from entry-level up to executive leadership.
To Mise en Place, culture-first leadership and organizational strategies focused on safety, compliance, and building top-tier workplace culture.
The Recipe for Results podcast, extra fast, high-impact extras, packed with operational tactics and actionable solutions.
86ing the bad habits, cutting out systemic operational flaws, bad leadership habits, and inefficient practices across hotels, bars, and restaurants.
This podcast is supported by the generous commitment of our sponsors, and we extend a special thank you to HRB Universal. Their dedication to providing comprehensive resources and promoting excellence is key to empowering professionals across the culinary and hospitality industries.
We also want to acknowledge the Plate and Pour Collective Equity Partner Program. This initiative exemplifies a true commitment to fostering shared success and equitable growth within the food and beverage sector, helping entrepreneurs build a more inclusive and thriving future.
The journey to the C-suite is fueled by innovation, relentless dedication, and the right network. We encourage you to engage with the resources and support offered by our sponsors. For details on how to connect with HRB Universal and the Plate and Pour Collective Equity Partner Program, visit hrbuni.com or search HRB Universal online.
We look forward to having you join us for our next episode, where we will continue to explore captivating topics designed to elevate your career and entrepreneurial drive.
Stay ahead with Pulse Sound. Today's hotel, restaurant, and bar industry news deep dive, brought to you by HRB Universal. Don't miss a beat. Whether you're commuting to work or unwinding on the couch, we've got your industry insights covered.
On the go. Subscribe and listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, Deezer, or visit HRBUni.com.
O Mobile App. Take the HRB network with you everywhere by getting our mobile web app at hrbunii.com/app.
Oh, big screen experience. Level up your show viewing stream Pulse directly on TV via Roku or Amazon Fire TV.
Until next time, keep innovating and striving for excellence.